My name is Danny Sanabria. I am from New York, born and raised. I am a husband, a father, and I am a missionary to young people here in New York City under the ministry called Youth for Christ, New York City. Happy to be here.
Welcome to Faithly Stories, the podcast that brings you inspiring tales from conversations with church leaders as they navigate the peaks and valleys of their faith journeys through their ministry work and everyday life. Join us as we delve into their challenges, moments of encouragement, and answered prayers. The Faithly Stories podcast is brought to you by Faithly, an online community committed to empowering church leaders, pastors, staff, and volunteers. Learn more at faithly.co. Get ready to be uplifted and inspired as we unveil the heart of faith through stories from the front lines of ministry on the Faithly Stories podcast.
Oh, we are so happy to have you, Danny. So we only just met a week ago.
Yes.
We met at the Pastor's Prayer Summit. We were in Pennsylvania, and it was an awesome conference.
Awesome.
I met so many cool people, so many people that I just knew I had to hear more of their stories. So you're a missionary to the youth of New York City. I love that. Like, break that down for me. What does that mean?
Yeah. You know, when I got saved when I was 16 years old, radically saved. I'm born and raised in church, but when I was 16, got radically saved. And I said to myself, I got to tell my peers about Christ. This changed my whole life, my perspective. And I just became like a lover for Christ. And I said, I got to tell my friends, my neighbors about Jesus. And then I started my youth ministry journey from 16 on in my local church. And I got really involved in youth ministry, and I haven't stopped. And so it became a full-time ministry later on in life, and then with Youth for Christ and with other ministries. And I said, my real goal here in life right now is to see kids come to Jesus. I came to Jesus at a young age. I grew up in church, but seeing young people following Christ when they're 13 and 14 and on is it's a joy, but a goal in my life to see, hey, if you can change a kid's life when they're young, you can change a generation. Yeah. And so I want to see kids come to Jesus. And whatever it takes, if it takes a slice of pizza, hanging out with them, or take them out to hear the gospel, and to share the gospel, let's do it. And so that's been my heart.
Now, when you felt those stirrings as a teenager, right? Did you think that you would go into full-time ministry? Because you studied business in college.
Yes, studied business in college. I'm an entrepreneur. I love business. My parents are in business. I got friends and family in business, and it's in me, my DNA, starting something. My first business was in 8th grade, selling beads, Puerto Rican beads, flags, back in those days, and raising money, right? And so it's always been in my blood, and I started at King's College here in New York City in the Empire State Building when it first started in 1999, and loved everything about the college. But again, ministry was in me. And so did I ever thought I'd be full time? No. Was it a dream? Yes. I knew I was going to business. I was probably going to be in my dad's business, in the dry cleaning business, for, all those years. But God has just put me in places that allow me to do full-time ministry. Yeah. And so I was just grateful, and I just jumped right in there to say, wait a minute, if I could do this full-time, go into the trenches, go into the neighborhoods and preach the gospel, especially in my local church, man, let's do it. I'm all in.
Yeah. And it sounds like you were right about all of that. Like the Lord has called you into all of it. Yeah. Into business, into ministry. Yeah. Because in addition to doing full-time ministry, you're also a businessman. You're also an entrepreneur. So,
yes.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Yeah. So again, Danny always wants to make money to survive in the city. Yep. And so I started a t-shirt business. Mm. I was always interested in t-shirts. In my youth groups, just creating t-shirts for them. I had a friend of mine that was really in the t-shirt business, and I would just go to his shop and hang out with him, give him orders. And I said, hey man, can you show me how you do this? Because this is so cool. I'm paying you this much money. I'm trying to always get the, cheaper. Oh, yeah. And I was like, can you show me how to do this? And he was like, yeah, do this, do that. And he was breaking it down. And one day I told my wife, I want to open a business. And she looked at me and she said, okay, Danny, this is your dream. And I said, yeah, I want to open a t-shirt business and we're going to make our own t-shirts and we're going to make our own money and I'm going to support my family. And she was like, okay. And then one day it took me 2 years to save up and I said, hey, babe, I bought a machine. And she was like, oh, you were serious? You bought a machine? I was like, yeah. And I'm housing it here in my friend's store. And we're going to make it. Long story short, 10 years later, we're doing really well. God has opened a door. This is a side business. So I work at nighttime. I also got workers, and partners into the small business it's called Community Print Lab. And it's exciting to be a part of that. But also I hire young people. I teach young people how to do screen print. And so for me, it's a discipleship tool. Yeah. It's just, hey, they hang out with me for 8 hours and we're not just talking about t-shirt. We're talking about life and conversation about, how can this bless you? And I had so many kids write on their resume. I worked with Danny, in our printing business and they got jobs. And so if I could be that help, I'm all in.
Yeah. Yeah. So for you, it's not like business here and ministry here. It's
everything together.
Everything together.
It has to be.
Yeah.
Everything together.
Yeah. Well, and so you have another business.
Yeah.
You have a trucking business and it's connected to Youth for Christ. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. It's just a great story. During the pandemic, we work with kids in prison. Our ministry is juvenile justice ministry, right? Youth for Christ has different types of ministry, but in New York City, we started with juvenile justice ministry, working with kids from 13 to 19 years old inside the prison system. And we've been doing that for 9 years. So when the pandemic hit, a lot of these kids needed to go back home. They were sending them back home and they needed furniture. Mom, they didn't expect them to come so soon. So they called us up and said, Danny, can you get them furniture? So I was like, yeah. So I called my board member here in the Upper East Side and, I asked her, hey, can you get me furniture? Her name is Bendia. She's awesome. She's like, yeah. So she went on Facebook. We need a bed. We need this. We need that. And I will go pick up the bed in my car or pick up the furniture in my car or rent out a truck to go deliver to these kids. And so the juvenile justice people were like, this is awesome. Keep on doing it. I'm like, there was 10 kids probably every month. Wow. And I was like, I need a truck. So I knew a guy. If you're from New York, you know somebody.
I think we're going to call this podcast I knew a guy.
You know a guy, yeah. So you know a guy. I said, hey, Sonny, I need your truck. I know you have a truck at the back of the, can you just give it to me? I'm doing this for ministry. And he was like, well, I'm not Christian, Danny. So this is, you got to pay me. So long story short, we bought the truck with my local church. We paid, a good price, great mileage. And we started this business called Move for Justice.
Move for Justice.
And my wife said, my wife actually called it Move for Justice. And, we started a business, but this business was strictly for moving, but also hiring kids that are formerly incarcerated. Yeah. They're coming out of jail. They don't know what to do. We have a relationship with them. They love us. Hey, why don't you work with us? Let's do some moving jobs. And we have people from different churches call us up, but also other ministries calling up, and I'll hire them and I'll spend 8 hours with them, lifting up furniture up and down. Yeah. But I'm going to tell you something right now. It is the best ministry when it comes to discipleship is working with them. I can see Jesus calling his disciples, come follow me and just do ministry, but he was present. He was there doing ministry. Yeah. And me doing ministry with them is taking these, furniture everywhere, but having the deep spiritual conversations. It was better than preaching on a pulpit or in church. It was me speaking to these kids about everything that's going on. Yeah. And I can just tell them about a biblical worldview. And I'm telling you, kids have been changed because of that.
Wow. That's powerful.
Yeah.
It's really powerful. I think you told me that all of this grew out of a prayer movement.
Oh, yes.
Right? Tell me about that.
Man. So my life is parallel. It's not like after 10 years I started something. Everything started at the same time. And so God Belongs in My City started, probably in 2009. I was in ministry working with another ministry called Street to Street, basketball tournaments. But God Bless My City started in my office. I was a principal. See, I do a lot. I was a principal.
Danny, are you 108 years old?
I feel like it. I was a principal of my church local school. They needed a principal because the principal left, and I was a secretary when I first got out of college. And they're like, "Danny, can you join me?" I was like, "Sure." It's this entrepreneur. It's starting something. It's helping. It's starting. Let me do this. And I had great support. My board was there for me. But in that moment, a teacher walked in and said, "Danny, look at this article." And this article said, 1 million New Yorkers don't need God. So the atheists were putting these ads all over New York City. And so in my office were my youth leaders. We had a Monday morning, conversation, meeting. And I read the article in front of them. And in my book, it was like so quick. In my book, I wrote, God belongs in my city. He belongs here. This is his city. And there's believers in this city that love Jesus, and we cannot stand for this. So let's pray for our city. And so one young person said, "Man, we should put that on t-shirts." I was like, I know a guy. And so he was like, "We should do a prayer walk. Danny, why don't you get older youth pastors in New York City that you know and bring them together and do a prayer walk from Battery Park all the way to Times Square. And let's do it in 2 weeks." And I was like, okay. So I called my youth pastor friends, called Adam Durso, called everybody and said, "Hey, let's do a prayer walk against this, atheist ads, and let's just do it in 2 weeks." So I called my friend. I need t-shirts. I have no money, but I need 300 t-shirts. 2 days he gets it to me, 300 t-shirts.
Wow.
White t-shirt that says God belongs to my city.
Wow.
No church name, no sponsorship. It was just me and my youth that are like, 25, 30 of us. And I said, let's just pray. I was 27 years old. I got young people, 13, 14, 15, and they're like, let's do it. They call their friends. Everyone's trying to find out on Facebook. We didn't have Instagram back then. It was on just Facebook and Twitter. I mean, we just blew up. Long story short, I ordered 2,000 t-shirts in 2 weeks.
Wow.
I had a big bill. 2,000 t-shirts. This is bad. I was selling them really cheap because I really wanted to get the word out there. Gave out many. At the end of the day, 1,500 kids came together from Times Square, from Battery Park, all the way to Times Square. And then we had another group from 110th Street come down and meet us at Times Square. You can look it up, God Bless My City, and I'll Google it, and telling you, blew up. Prayer, the youth pray for the city.
Yeah.
And it started there. And then again, we'll be here all day talking about this, but that started this movement of prayer in New York City and all over America. Over 80 cities did prayer walks.
Wow.
And across the country and across the world. So who would have thought that my young people, 4 of us in a room, would be all over the world saying God belongs to my city?
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. It's just, and we had no money. We had nothing. We just did it. And, the pandemic slowed us down, and I'm 43 years old, and I'm like, I got to make, this wasn't paying me. This wasn't, we get all the proceeds, we gave it back to youth ministries. We did retreats with them. We gave it to youth ministry. We supported them. And Youth for Christ National Office said, "Man, let's hire Daniel. Let's bring this together and reach kids with the gospel." And I'm like, I'm all in. And so all of that came to fruition. That's why I'm here. And that's why I love the city. That's why I'm not leaving the city. That's why I have 50 jobs to make sure to survive. But at the end of the day, we want to see kids know Jesus. And we want kids in youth ministries across this city to be young people of prayer. I do believe when a young person prays, the church is stronger and will last longer. That's what I believe.
Wow. That's a beautiful story. And your story's not over. You're only 43 years old.
43 years old, yeah.
Yeah, wow. So when you think about New York City youth today, you've been doing it not for 108 years, but for a good couple of decades.
Yeah.
What has changed about reaching youth in New York City today? And what do you think is needed? Do we need another prayer movement?
Yeah. I believe the church is, in New York City, it's it's like a fire. You know how you start a fire? It's just like, it's coming up. I believe that there are prayer movements happening right now in the Bronx, Church of the City with prayer, NYC. God is moving. And I don't think we need to start something new. We got to see what's there and we just got to jump on it.
Yeah.
And, I think that the need for youth ministries to be on fire is now. Like, I think the church leadership, they're all in, but the youth, don't neglect the youth. Yes, they're occupied by social media. Yes, they're annoying. Yes, I have an 11-year-old. Yes, there's all of the above. The reality is we need to invest in more of youth than never before. If we're not putting a large budget in our youth ministries, we're going to lose these young people. They're hungry. This generation is hungry. If you're not investing in them, we're going to lose them. Because again, 24 hours, 7 days a week, the enemy is after them. It is one click away, is one enter away. It's in their faces. They can't get away from it. But we need to be on the offense all of the time. That's why I get upset when a youth ministry tells me, I get wholly upset. Like, it's a holy discontent. When, we're going to just meet once a month. What? We're going to meet twice a month. No, we got to meet every week. We got to be on top of them, because this generation is going to die if we're not with them. And so that's my goal as a youth for Christ. Our goal is to empower youth ministries. The temperature of youth ministries in New York City, I think, from what I see is they're ready. Yeah. They're there. They're ready. My daughter's hungry. She's 11 years old. She's not hungry because her father is hungry. She's hungry because she's feeling the Spirit of God, and she's doing it on her own. She's literally like, Dad, can I go prayer service with you? The grumpy dad would be like, Mom, you got to go to sleep. You got school tomorrow. Yeah. And there's a lot of parents like that. No, you want to come? Let's go. My dad used to drag us to church 7 days a week. I'm coming from a Pentecostal church 7 days a week. I've been a part of every single ministry you could think of. And yes, we went home late. Yes, we tired the next day to go to school, but there were seeds planted. And I taking my daughter to prayer and seeing her pray on her own. I got to feed that. And so we have to do that as a church. We have to look at the youth ministry and say, hey, let's disciple our kids and let's reach more kids.
So, Danny, if you're a lead pastor and you're listening to this conversation and you're getting stirred up and you're saying, yes, I want to light a fire. We have youth and we have a youth ministry, but they're not quite sure how to do that. What's like a practical first step they can do to unleash the power of what is there?
Yeah. Get in a room with all your leaders and have a 5 or 10 year plan and say, how many kids we want? What's the number? 50, 100? Okay. This is what we need. What's our budget? If our budget is only 1%, you're losing. It needs to be a high percentage, especially here in New York. It has to be high. I mean, I raise a lot of money to get to where I'm at. And I encourage pastors to support me, but I also encourage them, like, what's your budget on the ground? And so that's key. And then get in a room with young people and do not be a church of authority, but a church of relationship, meaning asking the questions. Hey, what's going on out there, guys? It doesn't have to be, spiritual conversations. It could be just natural conversations that will become a spiritual conversation. We call it in Youth for Christ sharing relationship. A friend of mine, Paul Cody, said this to me. He's from Young Life. He said, when you say hello to a young person, that's the beginning of discipleship. That changed my life. Yeah. It's not like the beginning of discipleship is not when they come to church. Beginning of discipleship, when I go to the park and say, what's up to a kid, I say, I'll be here next week. I'm going to beat you next week. I promise you. I'm coming next week. And I'm coming the following week. I'm coming every week. So make sure that kid knows my name. And I know their name. And then there's a God, because this is the problem. We think we could save people. We don't save people. The scripture's clear. God saves people. God brings the bride together, right? We just got to be faithful and consistent. So I'll tell the church, hey, be faithful and consistent and do it weekly. If I went back to my youth days, my youth days, my doors are open 7 days a week. The church leadership would be upset at me because the kids would be in the church off hours. I was like, what do you want me to do? They love the church. Mom and dad don't go to church, but they love being part of the church.
Yeah.
I got to feed that.
Yeah.
I got to help that out. Now, again, there's rules, there's regulations. I understand that. But these kids are hungry. You got to get on top of it and you got to focus on it. And there's always, you always have to move with it. There's not one just straight structure like we used to grow up like this. There's always a movement of it, but never fall away from the truth. Right. So that's what I would tell a youth, to a pastor. Get on the board, everyone on board, and let's focus on them.
Yeah. Let's focus on them and be faithful and consistent. I love the
faithful and consistent.
Yeah, that's so simple, but it's so powerful.
Yeah.
I think anytime, and I see this as someone who's, trying to build a new thing. When you're trying to build a new thing, being faithful and consistent is such an important ingredient.
Yes.
Right. That's good advice. Can we talk about Youth for Christ for a minute?
Love to.
So Youth for Christ has over 100 chapters in the country. And I got to imagine that every chapter is a little different. Every city or every town needs something different for their youth. You had mentioned that your chapter, the New York City chapter, is really it really grew out of juvenile justice.
Yeah.
Is that particular to New York City? Is that all urban areas? I'm just a little curious.
Yeah, I mean, Youth for Christ nationally is well known for their juvenile justice ministry. So Youth for Christ goes where their students are at, like where they're at, parks, schools. Where are they? We're going to get them. Juvenile justice is a ministry focusing on young people that are incarcerated. Who's going to reach them? Who's going to go after them? And so Youth for Christ for over 65 years has been doing that. And when they came to New York City and hired me, Adam Durso actually endorsed me. And I told Adam, I can't do executive director. That's not me. That's paperwork. I can't do it. I was so scared. I was terrified. He's like, no, Danny, I believe in you. I think you can do it. And so when they came to me and sat down with me, going to be 9 years, they said, hey, Danny, listen, we love what you're doing. You're doing a phenomenal job, but we want you to be a part of Youth for Christ. I was like, yes, I'm going to get paid for this and reach kids. I'm excited. Youth for Christ is all, and Billy Graham was the first employee. I was like, I'm a part of that lineage. I'm excited. So I'm like, that's my hero.
Yeah.
And, but they're like, listen, you can reach kids in campuses, in the neighborhoods. This is what you do. But there's a ministry we want to bring here in New York called Juvenile Justice. And I was like, what's that? Like, I was like, kids going to jail. It's like, yeah, I was like, I got arrested a couple of times. I was a kid. But I never visit. I probably visited one kid in Rikers, but I didn't know the ministry. I have friends that did the type of ministry, but I wasn't really into it. Like, well, then this is what we're doing. Take it or leave it. And during that time, I was offered another job for another ministry. And I was like, this one or this one? I was debating. This one, I can do it. Let's do it. This one is new. It's dark. It's challenging. No one's doing it from a gospel perspective. And I said, Lord, tell me. And he's like, go where the darkness is at. Go where no one's going. I was like, I'm all in. As an entrepreneur, I'm like, let's do it. Let's jump into something that no one's really doing. And so I call a friend of mine and say, hey, I need your help. You're doing this. I want to bring the gospel. You're doing this from a legal stuff, and you want to change close jails. I'm going to come with Jesus. And he was like, man, I've been praying for this, Danny. I've been praying for partnership. So I'm like, just show me. So I walked in. I'm in the Bronx. Now I'm from Brooklyn. Okay. We don't go to the Bronx. All right. That's just, we go there for the Yankee game probably, but we don't go there hanging out. Even the Bronx people from the Brooklyn. It's a whole different thing. And so I said, all right, he goes, come at 10 o'clock. I said, 10 o'clock in the Bronx, bro. I don't do 10 o'clock. Like, I'll just be honest with you. But he says, come at 10 o'clock. and come inside Horizon and come and see what we do. So I sat down, I waited for 2 hours and I waited. And then a young girl walks in. She was 14 years old. And he basically said, I'll talk to her. And I was like, hey, what's your name? Where you from? From Chelsea, blah, blah, blah. She's like, I'm here because off the bat, I'm here because I robbed a Domino pizza deliverer. I'm like, okay. And right there was like a punch in my gut. I just had a baby, and it was like, she needs to hear the gospel. This is where you need to be at. It's not ministry for juvenile justice. It's going to the darkest places. I'm like, I'm in. I'm all in. And I went to her court date the next day.
Wow.
I was the only one that she knew. Mom and dad wasn't there. Her brothers wasn't there. I was the only one. She looked at me. She was like, what are you doing here? Like, you just met me.
Yeah.
And that moment, she told the court, I'm pregnant, I'm 14 years old. I need help. And I'm like, please, Lord. And right there just shook me and says, no matter what I do, I got to get to these kids' faces. I got to do what I have to do. And so I did. I called people, I called government officials. I said, let me in. By the grace of God, we've been in facilities for 9 years. By the grace of God, we have volunteers. By the grace of God, there's churches involved. But there's a lot more work to do. And then as my time has come, I became more of a fundraiser now than on the ground. And do I like to be a fundraiser? Yes. Do I want to be on the ground? Absolutely. But the Lord's put me in a position to train, develop more leaders to do that and raise the funds to get to those doors. And I tell all my donors and to pastors, I say, let's keep the door open, because we have the door open for 9 years. They love us. They want us. They want to be us to be part of these kids' lives. And yes, it says Youth for Christ, but they see our consistency. They see our yeses. They see our drive. And they tell us, why are you doing this? I'm like, because this is what God's called us to do.
Yeah.
So
we've got a lot of New York City pastors and churches who are following along with what we're doing and listening to the podcast. What do you need?
That's a big question. That's a big one. I don't want to get in trouble. What I need is this. I need the church. Yeah. Youth for Christ does not function as a para-ministry only. Youth for Christ functions as long as the church functions. Can't do it without the local church. I can't do it. I can't be in there and say, Youth for Christ has a ministry. No, I have to call the churches in and say, you have the people, you have the heart, and your longevity. Youth for Christ could literally could be closed today, but the church will never close. It will never close. It's going to be open. And so I need the church to be inside the facilities. So we're doing a new thing called Adopt a Hall. We have 20 halls. Halls are where kids stay and live. There are 10 to 15 kids per hall. And we're looking for 20 churches to adopt a hall. Focus on those 10 students. What does that look like? Go and meet with them once a week. Go to their court dates. Spend time with their families. Tell the families, we're the church to support you. What are your needs? What are your wants? We're praying for you. We want to help you. So imagine 20 churches. Now there's 7,500 churches in New York City. I only need 20 to support, help YFC, doors open, to get the church in the building. And then that church could support just that 10, not the whole facility, just those 10 kids, the 10 roughest youth ministry you'll ever have. It is not easy. It's not easy. I've knocked on churches all over for 9 years. I've knocked on churches. I've called churches. I have friends that run churches, but most of the time they're like, this is too much. And that's the reality. Because we're dealing with kids that just murdered kids in the streets. But they do need hope. Yeah. They're going to spend time in prison for 15, 20 years. But we need to plant the seed. And we need to be consistent in their lives. And only God can change. So the reality is this. The church needs to be involved with Youth for Christ. I can't do it without it, because I'm not the church. I'm just part of the church.
So if a church wants to get involved, Danny, what do they do? Do they reach out to you?
Yes, please. yfcnyc.org. And hit me up. Let's do this. Let's train you. Let's develop you. Let's help you. Let's guide you. And let's get involved. We're looking for funds too, resources to make our budget, to make sure our staff is good to go, and make sure all these kids need what they need.
Got it. Well, I have a feeling, Danny, that we've only just scratched the surface of your story, of the work that you're doing. So I have a feeling we'll be talking again, but thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's been such a blessing to hear how the Lord has used you, how he's woven his stories together. Can you believe, when you were arrested, that would be such a key moment that would feed into your ministry? The Lord knew what he was doing.
The Lord knew what he was doing. Yeah. Shaped me up, changed my life, and now I'm all in with him. As Paul said it, Paul said, a slave to the lost. And so I want to be a slave to the lost.
I love that. Thank you, Danny.
Thank you so much. I'm excited for Faithfully, what you're doing. Let's bring the community. I love it. I believe this. What I believe, and I'll end this. God's going to bless you because you're all about unity. John 17 talks about it. Jesus, he prayed about it. And I think you're doing that.
Thank you. Thank you, Danny.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to the Faithfully Stories podcast. We pray this episode gave you the encouragement you needed to continue on your journey. The Faithfully Stories podcast is brought to you by Faithfully, an online community committed to empowering church leaders, pastors, staff, and volunteers. The Faithfully digital platform offers innovative and practical tools and resources to enhance connection, foster collaboration, and promote growth within the church and ministry space. Remember to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help reach more listeners like you. Stay tuned for more uplifting tales from the front lines of ministry on the Faithfully podcast. Stay bold, stay faithful, and never underestimate the power of your own story.